Last year, I had what I can only describe as one of the wildest experiences of my life. And honestly, I still struggle to find the words to tell about it without sounding like I'm making it up. It all started with little things going missing in my house, all alone, in a pretty quiet neighborhood where I figured maybe I was just forgetful. A protein bar here, a sock there, nothing major, just enough to make me question myself. Then I noticed my TV changing inputs on its own, even though I didn't do anything to switch it. Nothing huge, but just enough to keep me second-guessing every little thing. The strangest part was hearing faint bumping noises from the ceiling sometimes, and I dismiss it as raccoons or the house creaking. It's an old place after all. But one night, after coming home late from work, I swear I saw a shadow flicker past the vent in the hallway ceiling. I told myself it was just my tired mind playing tricks, but that feeling wouldn't leave me. So, I decided to set up a cheap motion sensor camera I bought on Amazon, pointed straight at the attic hatch in the hallway. 2 nights later, at exactly 2:17 in the morning, I received a notification: motion detected. I looked at the clip and my stomach sank because there was a person climbing down from the attic. They moved quietly, went down the ladder, looked around, and then headed into my kitchen. I was frozen stiff at that moment. I was inside the house. I called the cops immediately, locked myself in my room, and grabbed a baseball bat, absolutely freaked out. The police did a thorough search, but at first they found no sign of anyone. When they checked the attic, though, they uncovered a little setup: sleeping bag, snacks, a small camping stove, empty water bottle. Someone had clearly been living up there. The person turned out to be my neighbor's grown son, who apparently had drug problems and got kicked out a while back. He had broken into my house while I was on vacation a few months earlier and just never left. He'd sneak down at night to grab some food or watch TV. He'd been arrested. I moved out about 3 weeks after, and now I've had trouble sleeping in total silence, because every creak makes me imagine someone's crawling above me. That experience was just the beginning. In the middle of March, my friends and young in our early 20s, all passionate about backpacking and camping, decided to plan a weekend trip into the wilderness in the Pacific Northwest, which was perfect for our outdoor adventures. We scouted out a spot a few days before, eventually finding a rural dirt road a few miles out of town. We drove down a gravel path, turned right onto what looked like a little-used grassy road, and found a small roundabout leading to a wide, flat campground. It looked well used, but also a little abandoned: tall grass covering parts of the area, and no signs anyone had been there recently. We liked the spot, but it was a bit close to the road, so we got out to explore. We found a trail deeper into the woods, hiked up it for a quarter-mile or so, and loved how remote it felt: no cell service and full immersion in nature. After confirming it was a good place to camp for the weekend, we packed up and headed back home. Once we had cell service again, one of us checked Google Maps to make sure the spot wasn't private property. We were in the clear for miles, so we decided to leave Thursday night after work and get an early start. Fast forward to Thursday, everything was packed: the food, water, and even some questionable substances we had for fun, and we headed out. As we approached the grassy road, ready to settle in for our weekend, we saw the glow of headlights reflecting back at us from the darkness. We slowed down and stopped, hearts pounding. There was a parked car with its tail lights shining, staring like some dark, angry creature guarding its territory. Our hearts sank, in our hearts racing, so we decided to turn back, to avoid any trouble. Once home, we discussed our options. We figured if we came back the next night, perhaps whoever was there would have left. So, Friday night, we returned, and sure enough, the car, the tent, and the barking dog were still there. But we weren't about to leave after that. Instead, we parked about 50 feet away from the site, hiked up the trail into the woods, and set up campfire from what we assumed were already inhabitants. The dog's barking grew more frantic as we got closer to the site, but it didn't attack, probably leashed or contained, which made us feel a little safer. We spent the night joking around, speculating about the camper or campers nearby. We thought about what they might be doing, what they'd do if they caught us trespassing. We even tried to scare each other with fake stories about revenge or weird rituals. Little did we know, that trip would turn into something way stranger than anything we'd imagine. We all fell asleep eventually. The next day I explored further up the trail with no significant incident, and by Sunday, it was time to head back. But the atmosphere had shifted completely once we returned to the campsite. The woods felt dead, silent-eerily so. The car was still there, the tent was intact, but it was like all the life had been sucked out of the place. We looked closer. The car was up on ramps, the tent was open, and on the table next to the car were tools, motor oil, a gallon of milk with the lid off, paper plates, food like someone had been working on their vehicle, eating, then suddenly vanished. The whole scene felt unnatural, impossible to ignore. Cautiously, we walked into the camp. We searched for clues. The windows of the car were heavily fogged up, which complicated things, but we could see a large dog sitting on the back seat panting, unmoving, very still. Our hearts sank. That dog had probably been trapped in there since Thursday night, suffering, maybe even eating the dead body of its owner. We debated what to do and agreed that breaking a window would be dangerous, could hurt the dog or cause it to panic. No cell reception, so we decided to call animal control once we got back to town. We left the scene, called the authorities, explained everything, and they promised to investigate. In the meantime, I kept watching the news, and what I found shocked me. A story from a nearby town about a woman who'd been dead in her car for days, her body found in the back seat with her dog. The police confirmed she died of an overdose on the night we saw her car. It was chilling, knowing that we'd been there, within hours of her death, and hadn't even known. I Googled the story again recently, and it turns out that similar incidents had happened over the last 16 years along that exact stretch of road. It's like some hidden pattern or Cursian eerie series of deaths that keep happening there. We haven't gone back since, and honestly, I doubt we ever will. It's been over a year now, but that story still gives me chills. I have 3 kids. I was about 9, 7, and 2 when this all happened, and I live out in the countryside of the UK, just outside a small village. Every night, I make sure the doors lock. It sometimes locked multiple times. But one night, I was awoken by harsh banging on the front door. At first, I thought maybe drunk neighbors or someone who got lost. But then they kept trying to turn the handle. My husband was away, so I grabbed my phone and held position upstairs, listening. The man outside was rambling, slurring, asking for a woman's name, something about hiding her and coming in. He started making strange noises, thumping, scratching, and I couldn't tell what else. My husband told him to go away. After a few frantic knocks, we finally didn't hear anything. But I stayed awake, terrified because of that dent in the door, the fingernail marks and blood smears, things that made my skin crawl. Next morning, I discovered a smashed ashtray with blood on it, and the ground covered in soil and plant debris, like he tried to break in and hurt himself. We told the neighbors, who were just as horrified. They'd thought he was just drunk. When I mentioned her name, they looked scared. She used to live nearby, into drugs and shady people. Police had been called to her address multiple times, but we didn't know what for. Now, we've installed cameras and alarms to keep ourselves safer. Still, the thought of that night still haunts me, how close it all came to turning deadly. A few years ago, I kept this to myself, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I live pretty far out, just me and my dog in the countryside, and one night, I woke up to the motion sensor light outside flickering on. I looked out the window and saw a man standing at the end of my driveway, not moving, just staring at my house. I froze, couldn't even move. The light went off, and everything went dark again. This happened again the next night, same spot, same stillness. I was really starting to panic. I called the police, and they sent someone out. The guy was already gone by the time they arrived. They said it was probably just some drunk or a harmless passerby, but that didn't comfort me. After a week of nightly staring, it suddenly stopped. He just vanished, no explanation, no reason. I never saw him again, but I still can't shake the feeling of being watched. And then there's the story from when I was about 11 or 12, living in an apartment with my mom. Across from us was this neighbor, creepy, wild, and totally insane. I could write a book about his outlandish behavior, but this is the one that stuck with me the most. One day, my mom was talking to him calmly, trying to smooth things over, maybe find some common ground. Out of nowhere, she burst into our apartment, shutting and locking the door behind her, visibly shaken. She told me he'd said something totally unprompted, that if she was smart, she'd keep our daughter away from men like him. She didn't tell me exactly what he meant, but I could only imagine. It felt like a thinly veiled threat, and with me being home alone often because of online school, I felt unsafe for the first time. I'd lie awake, worrying about him doing something terrible. Thankfully, he died before anything bad ever happened, so I guess I dodged a bullet there. And as crazy as it sounds, I even have a recent story just about an hour ago, actually. My wife and I are vacationing in Mexico, and everything's fine. But late at night, I was in bed when I heard a loud thud at the back door. Then I heard a bunch of bumps and noises along the walkway outside. Our dog was freaking out. I thought maybe it was some emergency like police or someone needing help. So I got up and headed to the front, only to see a girl, probably in her 20s, crying and screaming all alone, pleading, "Let me in, let me in." 4 men in a van hunting me. I was stunned. She looked muddy, wearing pajamas, barefoot. I told her to sit down and I tried to stay calm, telling her I'd call the police. She kept screaming she was being chased, that men wanted to kill her, that she saw a gun. She then suddenly ran through the house, jumped on our bed, slammed windows shut, dashed into the guest room, the bathroom, the laundry room. I was getting annoyed and told her, "Go to the couch, sit down and stay there." But she was unhinged. I could tell. I decided to bring her outside, thinking maybe she was high or mentally ill, and I called the police again. She kept rambling about people crawling on my car and chasing her, giving directions like turn left, right, left, but obviously no one was out there. She kept claiming they had guns. I made her tell me her address. I don't think it was real, but she insisted she lived near 7-Eleven. I drove her there and told her to stay put. Then I ran back home, hoping I could find some old shoes she could wear. Police showed up, searched everywhere, and confirmed she'd been barefoot the whole time. They suspected she might be on something or mentally unstable. They cuffed her and took her away. An officer even joked, "What are you going to do with those eyelashes?" I'd handed him a set of false lashes she'd been clutching. It was unsettling, but I was relieved it was over. And finally, a month or so ago, around Easter, I was working late at a parking garage and transit hub in the city, responsible for locking everything up late at night. I patrol the dark, empty building, just me and my radio linked to the police. It usually takes about 10 minutes to secure the place, and I do regular checks. But one night, something felt off. Things were unnaturally quiet, smells of city filth even stronger, and I felt like I was being watched. When I reached the top floor, I leaned my forehead against the cold door of the elevator as it arrived. On the way down, I saw a man just standing in the shadow of the hallway, no movement, just staring at me. Before I could process it, he dashed down the stairs, heading for the exit. I watched through the security cameras, kept pace with the elevator, floor after floor. My heart started pounding, my head felt dizzy, ears ringing as I watched him follow me, step by step. He caught the elevator just as the doors opened, and he stormed in behind me, inside the building. I kept staring, frozen, as I tried to figure out what to do. Eventually, I saw him kick the door shut when I ran in a room, then realized it's just me in here. I radioed authorities and they swept the building. Luckily, they found him gone by the time they finished. But now, every time I go back to work, I can't shake the feeling I'm being watched. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you like stories like this, hit that notification bell because I upload new videos every Monday and Thursday at 9 a.m. EST. We also do live streams every Sunday and Wednesday night. Got a story yourself? Send it over to my email at letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com. I might feature it in a future video. And if you want early access and bonus content, check out my Patreon or click that join button on the channel. Oh, and don't forget to listen to the Let's Read podcast, with all these stories and more available wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.